Now, let's look at the lawsuit itself. They're suing and they're saying that the crew were to blame, and because the crew worked for that company, so indirectly, that the company is to blame for the actions of the crew, and therefore that's why the lawsuit is. Now, I guess if you think about it, is the CEO saying we need to rescue the reputation of the company by suing the people that we believe caused the incident? But I can't see how they can think that makes them look like a good company, because, and I'm speculating here because obviously I don't know the truth of this. I suppose it depends what you already think. That if you generally, like in Italy, if you're an Italian and you think that you believe what Costantino said, and you think, yeah, it was the crew's fault, and then he says, I'm suing that company, you say, well, yeah, he should, because he's ruined his company and it's their fault. That's the way those people might look at it. I'm just being the devil's advocate there. But if you really look at it, you're thinking, hang on a minute. So 7 people died. All of these people have been widowed or whatever, and the owner has been widowed, and now they're going after those people for money. That's the way I think most people will see it. And the optics of it, he's saying, well, the Perini Navi brand has been destroyed because of the incident. And I can see why that could be the case. Because now everybody is considering, well, was it safe? Was the vessel? I mean, this vessel had the tallest mast in the world at the time, and people, the other vessels in the range, they do make some other sloops, which is a single-masted vessel, but most of them are ketches. Even the other vessels that have the same hull as Bayseian, they had 2 masts, right? So having 2 masts means there's less weight in those masts, because one big giant mast is heavier than 2 smaller masts to provide the same coverage with the sails, right? People are just looking at the brand and saying, well, that yacht sank. I don't really want to have one of those. I guess that's what they're saying by saying that they've lost all this money, and they've not had any people interested in buying a Perini Navi since. What they've got to consider, because it's not Perini Navi suing the Bayseian owner, it's the Italian Sea Group, and the group it involves other companies, right? So you've got Admiral in that group. You've got Technomar. They make those Lamborghini yachts. You've got another one that I'm probably going to mispronounce here, but I think it's Picciotti or Picciotti. I'm not sure how to pronounce that one. And you've got Perini Navi, and Admiral alone has they make the bigger yachts, motor yachts, and they've made 156 yachts since the 60s. They've been in operation since the 60s. Now, they weren't owned by the Italian Sea Group. These are all companies that he's purchased or they've purchased and put together in this group. Perini Navi, they built 64 yachts since 1983. And they've built some high-profile ones, like the Maltese Falcon is one of the most high-profile sailing yachts out there. That was built by Perini Navi. Admiral has built Planet 9, which is a very, very well-known vessel. It's featured on our channel because I've got some great drone footage of that yacht. Very similar to another yacht called a Lursen-built yacht called Motor Yacht Ice. They look very similar. If you didn't know, you might mistake one for the other. Motor Yacht Kensho, which is a boat that came out maybe 3 or 4 years ago, green-hulled vessel. That's another vessel that was built by Admiral. And then there's those Giorgio Armani yachts. We featured one at this year's Monaco Yacht Show. And they're all built by the same company, the same group, right? So the optics of this, from what I can see, is if you buy a yacht from Perini Navi or the Italian Sea Group, you've got to consider that at some point in the future, if you have some incident in it and it looks bad for the public relations of that group, that he's going to come after you and sue you, right? Because he's doing it right now. He's filed a lawsuit against the widow of Mike Lynch, who, let's face it, Mike Lynch really was the owner of that yacht. I mean, the wife didn't like being on the yacht. She was very uneasy on board. It probably saved her life, in actual fact, because when the weather got bad, it woke her up, and she went upstairs to find out what was going on. And she wasn't overly concerned, because there wasn't anything to be overly concerned about initially. And she went upstairs to talk to the captain who was on the flybridge to say, are we going to have to cancel these taxis? Because she knew from her own experience that because the weather was so bad, they probably wouldn't be able to launch the tender to take the people ashore in the morning because the weather was too bad. You've been watching a clip from our new Yacht Report podcast. Catch the full episode by clicking here. You can find a link to the new YouTube channel Yacht Report podcast down here. You can also find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.